I'm Rachel Belle, and this is Your Last Meal, the show where celebrities share stories about the foods they love most, and we dig into the history, culture, or science of those meals with experts from around the world. Today on the program, Hannah Dasher, country music star and author of the new cookbook, Stand By Your Pan. Named after her super popular cooking videos, enjoyed by her millions of TikTok and Instagram followers.
Hey, on this episode of Stand By Your Pan, we're making Tammy Wynette's Coca-Cola cake. 2 sticks of margarine, yes, Coca-Cola and some cocoa.
Hannah's house in Nashville is a 1970s time capsule, and her kitchen is stocked with nostalgic vintage cookware, including the Tupperware so many of our moms bought at parties. Tupperware turns 80 this year, and it found its place in the American Zeitgeist thanks to a woman named Brownie Wise. Never heard of her? Most people haven't. We will tell you how she rose to Oprah-level fame and was erased from the history books in a span of just a couple of years. That's coming up later in the show, but first, my conversation with Hannah Dasher. If you don't already follow Hannah on social media, you should. In her Stand By Your Pan videos, she's in her perfectly preserved vintage kitchen with her avocado green stove and her avocado green rotary phone mounted to her wood-paneled walls. She's big hair, sass, and southern charm. And she cooks. Not the precisely chopped, perfectly styled, aspirational meals you're used to seeing on Instagram. Hannah cooks like real people cook in their real kitchens.
Hey, if you don't cook, this one's for you. Because nobody shows up to a party empty-handed. 7-layer salad. So easy, Ronnie Millsap could make it. Stand by your pan. Nana's Lemon Delight, the only sweet thing about her. Stand by your pan. Nana called this Lemon Delight, not because of the lemons, but because she only made this when she was in a good mood. She said love is a secret ingredient, which is interesting because she's been married 5 times and left everything behind. The china, the furniture, and the men. 1 block of cream cheese. Anyhow, 1 bite of this and you'll understand why 3 men proposed and 2 were never heard from again.
Hannah has been cooking since she was a little girl. Her school teacher mom taught her how to make a grocery list, plan a meal, and cook for the family when she was 9 or 10 years old.
So by the time we graduated high school, my sister and I could fend for ourselves. I could make a rack of ribs and potato salad. To me, that's easy. That's the first meal I ever made.
Oh my gosh, making ribs was your first meal?
Oven-baked ribs, yes, so easy. You don't need a grill. You could do it with just tin foil and a roasting pan, and they are delicious.
You talk about how a lot of people your age and younger don't cook anymore.
That's kind of the mission behind Stand By Your Pan. I realized when the restaurants and all were shutting down, my girlfriends were like, oh my God, I'm spending $1,000 a month on groceries because I don't cook. I don't know what I'm doing. And I thought, well, good heavens, cooking is not rocket science. If you can order DoorDash, you can make a damn meal. Yeah, I wanted to preserve, much like my fashion and the pedal steel guitar, things that I love. I wanted to preserve a lot of these classic recipes that needed to hang around. Because if I'm going to your house for fried chicken, I want your macaroni and cheese to be palatable. And so in all of my travels, Rachel, as a touring musician, I've realized leaving home that soul food's not created equal. In the deep South of Savannah, where I'm from, in that low country, what we do is really unique, really rare. And so this book is capturing, in my opinion, some of the best textures and flavors of these classics like macaroni cheese, like Watergate salad, like collard greens and ham hocks, black-eyed peas, etc. Some of the best versions of those that you're going to get.
For those who don't know, what is a Watergate salad?
I did mine a little bit differently, but it's a pistachio fluff. It's the color of the wall paint from 50 years ago, but it's delicious. It's not really a salad. I mean, let's face it, it'll run your blood sugar up, but it is kosher to have a cold salad with every meal that's not dessert.
Describe what's in it.
Oh my gosh, crushed pineapple and a little bit of cream cheese, the pistachio pudding. I like to do mine with a little bit of vanilla yogurt. I don't do that in the book, but I eat it with a little vanilla yogurt to cancel some of the carbohydrates so that it's a little more. I also do mine differently, and I put some dark chocolate chips in it for a little more crunch.
Ooh.
Yeah, heavy whipped cream or Cool Whip, rather, if you want Cool Whip. I like to whip my own cream. It just tastes better, and I don't like the chemical taste,
Mm-hmm.
And love. You just pull those little sherbet glasses out of the dining room cabinet that have been sitting there not being used in forever, and you put it in your cute little sherbet glasses and put a little maraschino cherry on top.
It's called Watergate salad, but it has nothing to do with President Nixon's 1972 political scandal. General Foods, now Kraft, says they developed the recipe in 1975 to promote their new Jell-O pistachio pudding. They called the dish Pistachio Pineapple Delight, and the recipe calls for one of their other products, Cool Whip, along with a can of crushed pineapple with the juice, mini marshmallows, and chopped pecans. Kraft claims it was renamed Watergate Salad by a food editor at a newspaper in Chicago, who printed the recipe under that random name to get people interested in reading her column. But there is no record of that article or that editor. Some suspect it was named after the Watergate cake, another 1970s creation, also colored Wicked Witch of the West green. The Watergate cake is a processed potpourri of white cake mix, instant pistachio pudding, and lemon lime soda. Many question if General Foods actually invented Watergate salad. Food history scholars will point out there were very similar pistachio pudding pineapple salads already published before 1975. I want to talk about how the book is very homemade. I'm very impressed that you make your own cream of mushroom soup, your own cream of chicken soup to put into casseroles. When do you decide to go homemade? And then when do you decide I'm just going to use a commercial product?
I'm all about pinching pennies. And if I don't have to go out and buy cream of mushroom, then I'm not going to or cream of chicken even, because I've got chicken fat in my fridge. I talk about the importance of keeping a stocked pantry and a stocked fridge. And so I've got all the ingredients that I need on hand all the time to make it. And it tastes so much better and without all the chemicals and the stuff that's in it. And if I have a gluten-free person coming over, then I can pull out my gluten-free flour and make a gluten-free version of that cream of whatever soup. But yeah, it just makes your food taste better. So why not? Plus, if you can pressure can, then you've got something that'll last you for a year or two. That'll be more of a stand by your pan too.
The canning book that's coming next.
Yeah, that'll be a stand by your can, girl. That's what we'll call it.
I mean, it all rhymes. You could do like 30 of these.
Stand by your clam, the seafood edition.
Stand by your clam. I want this.
Or the Victoria's Secret edition. I don't know.
Well, that could also be stand by your cans. It works both ways. Stand by your ham.
Yum. Hams are so good. We talk about how to make ham stock in this book.
In the retro style, do you have like a big freezer in your garage or something to hold all this stuff?
You know I do, girl. I'm prepared.
What are a couple things that are in that garage freezer?
I love it. Well, I've got some Brunswick stew that Daddy made. That recipe's in the book. It's so good. I'll freeze my cream of chicken or cream of mushroom. I keep a lot of fresh vegetables. I blanch them and put them up and keep them in the freezer. But I love fresh blueberries. And if cat dies or has surgery or something, it is so easy to pull out some blueberries, and I make that viral recipe, the blueberry yum yum for dum-dums, because anybody could make it. Literally. It's so easy. Dump a box of yellow cake mix on top of blueberries with a couple of other things, and God visits Earth. Ooh.
Your great-grandma Ruby died, and you found food wrapped in napkins in her purse. And your assistant told me that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. What's going on in your bag, ma'am?
Good heavens. Well, we'll leave a Cracker Barrel or something if you must go on the road. A lot of times it's a good place for breakfast. But yeah, I don't always eat all my sausage or whatnot. And so I have been known to wrap some things up with good intentions, saving them, cooking them for later. But yeah, keep your bones, honey. Keep your steak fat. Keep things like that because it makes really good gravies and things.
What is the weirdest thing that you have found later in your purse?
I was cleaning my pocketbook out a couple weeks ago, and this post is going viral right now online, but I was cleaning out my purse on the airplane, and I found a little mini Jesus and exactly 12 gummy bears. Apparently, a bag of gummy bears had gotten whatever loose, and there was exactly a dozen of them. So I put Jesus and his little 12 gummy bear disciples out there on a little thing and snapped a picture of it.
You had to make your last supper, your last gummy bear supper.
Yes, it was dry. So I did not eat them. They were rock hard by then, but I was just trying to clean out the purse.
I love how real you are in your videos and your instinct not to let anything go to waste, kind of like what you were talking about, taking home bones. And in one of your videos, you pull out a brick of cream cheese and there's mold on it and you just cut it right off.
I did. Well, I mean, because that's what my great aunts and grandmothers would have done. At home, honey, I mean, it's just literally all cheese is mold anyway. It's just aged dairy. So cut that crap off and save you money. Your grandma would have done it and fed it to you and you'd have loved it and gone back for thirds.
I do it too. I think people are too squeamish about things, germs and mold. I've never gotten sick from doing that.
Oh, I agree. And the legal team required me to put shelf life on a lot of these things on these recipes. But honestly, you can extend that. Trust me, as long as you're keeping it in clean containers and keeping it chilled, I've got chicken fat that will stay fresh in these containers for probably like 2 months, 8 weeks. If it's still holding its texture and you don't see little fuzzies growing on it, eat it.
That's what I say. I know I'm to the point now that my friends text me pictures. Should I eat this? Can I eat this? If it doesn't smell bad and it's not, covered in mold that you can't cut off, then eat it. After the break, Hannah tells us about some of her most prized kitchen objects handed down from country music royalty. And we will talk about the impression Tupperware made on the world. 80 years ago, leftovers were stored in glass jars and wax paper. Until Tupperware came along and introduced a new, exciting product: plastic. As I mentioned at the top of the show, walking into Hannah's house is like taking a time machine back to the 1970s. I've heard you describe your home as honky-tonk Graceland. Can you talk about this vintage wonderland that you have created?
I love that. Well, when my non-hoochie grandmother passed away, I inherited all of the things that nobody wanted, like the avocado green furniture and harvest gold furniture and the old kitchen stuff. I couldn't afford to buy new things, so I've just added to it through the years and made it my own, and now it looks like a movie set, and it works. It helps me to escape from the rat race that is the music business. And when I walk into my home, it's like it is a little honky-tonk Graceland. It's just these little items carry a really cool energy. It's a great place to create recipes, to create music. But yeah, like you don't see, other than this laptop that I'm speaking to you on that stays hidden, yeah, you don't see anything that reminds you of current. It just kind of feels like going back to a really cool grandma's.
Yeah, you're living in a time capsule, a very soothing avocado green time capsule.
Yeah, but I think that's what made it work online as well. Yes, you're getting incredible recipes, but it's a big hug. You scrolling by and you're like, oh my gosh, my mother had those Tupperware containers, or my grandma had those, or you know what I mean? It's I think we all could relate.
All of the kitchenware in the book is vintage. You have like the classic white and blue Corningware. There's the 70s crock pot. There's that old school chartreuse Tupperware that I think everybody knows. Is this all from your personal collection?
You know it is, girl. Yes. I like all of my stuff to match my kitchen. The yellow, orange, brown, that matches my home. Some of it is my mother's, the pewter, and like that was my great aunt's. This set came with matching cigarette ashtrays for the dining room table because I used to smoke.
Yes. You know what that reminds me of? I can't remember if it's Mary-Kate or Ashley Olsen, but one of them famously at her wedding had centerpiece bowls on every table full of cigarettes.
Because they don't eat, but they love to smoke.
No 1970s home would be complete without a set of Tupperware in shades of avocado, burnt orange, harvest gold, and cocoa brown, with the classic burpable starburst lid. Obviously, Hannah has a set, so it was the perfect excuse to learn about the history of Tupperware and celebrate its 80th anniversary. Tupperware was invented in 1946 by a chemist named Earl Tupper. But the heart and soul of the Tupperware story, the person who created the Tupperware party and put the product on the map, is a woman named Brownie Wise, who rose to A-list fame and then crashed and burned in the span of a few years. Let's start from the beginning. World War II had just ended, and Earl Tupper was working for the chemical company DuPont. DuPont was trying to repurpose materials they worked with in wartime that they couldn't find a use for in peacetime. And Tupper got obsessed with creating something out of a plastic called polyethylene. Tupper left DuPont and eventually came up with the plastic bowl with a sealing lid.
The Wondelier bowl, he designed our very first seal based on a paint can lid.
That's Doug Palenica, Vice President of Direct Sales for Tupperware in the United States and Canada. It's hard to imagine because we just live in this world of plastic everywhere. But at the time when Tupperware was new, there wasn't a plastic bowl like this, right?
There was not. It was mostly, glass or ceramics or metal. And there wasn't something that was durable that people could take with them and really seal a leftover. They were using, wraps and things like that didn't keep things fresh. So there was definitely a market for it and a need in that time of our, history.
It's really hard to think of it now as like this incredible, mind-blowing thing, but it truly was for its time.
That's NPR business correspondent Alina Soliuk. Alina started covering Tupperware when the company filed for bankruptcy in 2024. But she became so fascinated with the company's story, she dug in deeper and reported a 50-minute NPR story called The Queen of Tupperware.
Before the war, plastic was industrial, it smelled funny. It was not a thing that a regular American would encounter at home. And after the war, plastic sort of roared into American life, and the Wonder Bowl was one of these original ideas that just looked beautiful. I mean, it won design awards. There were these whole magazines devoted to like the beautiful plastics developed by Tupperware. It ended up in Museum of Modern Art in New York. It ended up at the Smithsonian Museum of American History. It was just gorgeous.
The first Wondelier bowls were translucent and came in pastel colors like pink and baby blue. Doug says Tupper was a great inventor, but he didn't know how to market his product.
So, he had it sitting on a shelf and it just wasn't selling. And along came Brownie Wise, who brought the party to life. She, demonstrated the product, taught people how to use it, kind of birthed the Tupperware party that we know today.
Brownie Wise is this incredible, very interesting person. Brownie Wise at the time was a divorced woman. She had a son. She was supporting on herself. She was selling door to door all kinds of cleaning supplies for this company called Stanley. She was progressing really fast and she really wanted to be in management. But Stanley basically told her, "What do you mean you want to be in management? You're a woman. We don't do that." She said, I'm going to show them. And so she was looking for something else to start doing when this Wonder Bowl comes into her life. And she decided that this was going to be the next thing. And she starts selling Tupperware products at her parties. Picture, this is late 40s. So you've got pearls and kitten heels and all these women sitting around trying all these bowls. Or one of the gimmicks that she would do is she would pour grape juice into the bowl, seal it with a lid, and then chuck it across the room. Everyone freaked out. Oh my gosh, this grape juice is going to stain your beautiful carpet. But guess what? Tupperware would bounce off the floor and not a drop would be spilled. And through her consistent push for these products to sell at parties, Tupperware really took off.
But here's the thing. Brownie Wise wasn't working for Tupperware. She was doing this all on her own.
She was selling Tupperware so fast that Tupperware couldn't manufacture it fast enough. And so she was constantly writing these missives to the company saying, I need more stuff and you guys are slow. And the way the story goes is that she got so mad at some point that the company couldn't keep up with her sales that she called up the company and said, I demand to speak to Earl Tupper. And Earl Tupper picked up the phone and was like, I know exactly who you are. So she basically went from selling it herself to then hiring a bunch of distributors to sell under her. Then she was overseeing like regional sales. And at some point, Tupper brings her into the company and she does get that moment that she'd been working toward, which is she gets into management. Brownie Wise was one of the first female corporate executives in the U.S. It is an incredible moment in the late 1940s. to have a woman in the executive suite essentially running the business. Earl Tupper was a chemist. He was an inventor. He wanted to tinker. He wanted nothing to do with the parties, with the shoppers. He just wanted to make his stuff. And she was the queen of the razzle dazzle. She also became the first woman on the cover of Business Week magazine. And the magazine article kind of minces no words about who's actually running Tupperware. They're like, yeah, Earl Tupper is the creator. But Brownie Wise is the woman who's making all the decisions. The company just exploded. I mean, it was like quadrupling sales, quintupling sales. I like to think of her as like Oprah before Oprah, or I don't know, like Martha Stewart long before Martha Stewart, but without any of the cooking, but with all of the cult following. Brownie Wise was like the celebrity of that moment. Like women were competing to win her dresses that she'd worn. She was a star.
It was like Beatles mania, but for Tupperware executives.
But Brownie mania.
Brownie mania, yeah. Brownie had made it to the executive suite, and she brought thousands of women into the workforce at a time when most women didn't work. Tupperware parties allowed them to make their own money on their own schedule so they could still take care of their kids and run the home. Tupperware created an army of entrepreneurs.
But then over the next 2 to 3 years, the tension between her and Earl Tupper really builds. He starts out fawning over her. He gifts her like a horse for her birthday.
Every girl's dream, a pony, finally.
Exactly. For your 40th birthday, you get a Palomino horse. She lives on this like beautiful piece of land that Tupperware owns in Florida near the headquarters in Orlando. Like, she lives this really lavish lifestyle. But after a while, their styles really start to clash. There were multiple things. So first, they have this massive falling out over the fact that Brownie Wise wrote a book. It's called Best Wishes. It's just like really like hokey advice. But Tupper is quite upset that she's quote unquote profiting from this book, using her celebrity as a Tupperware executive. Then at some point, he discovers that she was using a Wonder Bowl as a bowl for her dog. There are archival notes that she writes to him trying to get him to develop a bowl for pets. What a great sales opportunity. Why not a dog bowl? And he is just horrified at this idea that this like beautiful baby of his is being used to feed an animal. There's just like a drip of a lot of these things. But fundamentally, I think there is a massive amount of tension between him and her based on the fact that Tupperware could not exist without Brownie Wise. Add all of that to the fact that he got sort of overwhelmed by the rapid success of the company and decided he wanted to sell it. He thought that Brownie Wise would be a liability, that she was this big ego, very big personality, and he didn't think that he could sell the company with her there. And so he just fires her. There's no build up to it. She sues the company. She ends up settling for like $30,000. She has no stock in the company. She has no stake. She didn't own her own house. She didn't own her land. She pretty much loses everything. And Earl Tupper, people say that he instructed everyone to never speak her name. One of the biographers that I've spoken to said that when she first started doing research into Brownie Wise in the 80s and 90s, people would only talk about her in hushed tones. They canceled her to zero. She did not exist. And that's kind of the end of her story. She never really made it big in anything else. That was the other kind of sad element, is that I think she thought that these women, the sellers, would follow her to her next endeavor. But at that point, Tupperware was such a massive income source that people trusted and believed in that they didn't feel like taking a risk on a whole new thing. And then, she died in the early 90s. The company later on did try to restore her name into its sort of archival history, but she did not live to see that day. To this day, she is not even mentioned on the Tupperware website. They did such an incredible job of just erasing her history. There was a moment when they spent a bunch of money putting up a park in her name, and they restored her sort of history in the like formal archives, but the damage had already been done. It was like 3 decades of pretending she never existed.
He did, remove her from that part of the history. What I'm very proud of, though, are the leaders in our past who brought her back. And we've really held her in a much higher esteem, as long as my mom's been in the business, at least, and myself, so that, she is honored even today. We'll be celebrating her birthday later this month, and it'll still be called the Brownie Wise birthday event. And, she's still in a lot of our material that we put out. So it's a way to kind of honor our past and, the legacy that she left.
Doug just mentioned his mom. She started selling Tupperware 45 years ago when Doug was 5 years old. Her parties took off, and she did so well, she eventually retired Doug's dad from his corporate job so he could help out.
I fell in love with the business through that time myself and started selling. It'll be 30 years this fall when I held my first Tupperware party. Right about 20 years old.
You look amazing for 50. You look great.
Thank you. It's the Tupperware. It keeps me fresh.
Exactly. So how does a 20-year-old get into selling Tupperware? Because I'm assuming your peers may not have been doing similar things.
No, they were not. So I was in college at the time and I wanted to buy a new vehicle. And, having grown up in the business, my mom and dad said, there's a way you can make some extra money if you want to try this. And I knew the product. We'd used them in our home since I was 5. And I figured it could be something fun to try. I'll tell you, I was scared to death when I started walking into that first home and standing up in front of a room full of women. I wish it were, today's era where I could be doing it online. But I absolutely fell in love with just being with different groups of people every night of the week and making a lot of money throughout that time. And my friends took notice when I showed up with my brand new car and started to have a little bit of extra money where they were working side jobs. And actually, many of them joined me in Tupperware over those years.
It kind of reminds me of selling Girl Scout cookies, where the whole point of that is to learn how to speak to people and talk to grownups and, be a little business person. And I'm sure that it benefited you. You mentioned that, now it would be easier doing it online, but I bet that it contributed some to your gregariousness, having this little salesman shtick when you were younger.
Absolutely. I think, I probably was trying it out before I even was selling it, following my mom around and, acting like the Tupperware guy at home. So it just kind of fit for my progression in life.
Despite filing for bankruptcy a couple years ago, Tupperware is going strong. Earl Tupper's patent eventually expired, which is why there are so many brands making sealable plastic containers today. But just like Kleenex is synonymous with tissues, a lot of us call all plastic leftover containers Tupperware. Let's get back to Hannah. Beyond the Tupperware, she's got all kinds of treasures lurking in her kitchen. Some of your collection belong to some of your heroes. Tell me about some of the pieces that you got from some famous folks.
Oh my gosh. So we got 2 bowls from the fish scale collection that belonged to Miss Loretta Lynn. She called it yoga butts because it looks like little heinies bending over. So a fan gifted me this.
Oh, I love that. It looks very similar to that brand Great Jones. They're doing some cookware that looks vintage, and that's really close to it. I love that. Wow. You also have a cookbook that was really hard to get.
Oh, yeah. There's the Tammy Wynette cookbook. I didn't realize. You know what they want for those things on eBay now? This little cookbook, they want $380 for this hardback. Now, there are some recipes, God rest your soul, Tammy, but with peas and ham and bell pepper and Miracle Whip and things. But the banana pudding was probably her most popular recipe.
Is that the one that's in your book?
1977 banana pudding. Yes.
Tell me about that recipe.
Oh my gosh. So when Tammy Wynette and George Jones split in 76, 77, she started dating Burt Reynolds, just one of my favorite Hollywood icons. On one of their first dates, they were newly dating. She hosted him at her home in Nashville and thought that she would fix this incredible dinner and show off her cooking skills, not realizing that Burt Reynolds was hypoglycemic. She nearly put him into a diabetic coma, and they had to call the ambulance. This was on date 2 or 3 or something like that. Isn't that wild? Can you imagine?
Oh my God.
I was mouth to mouth on him. Woo, so good looking back then. This is the year Smokey and the Bandit came out, one of his most popular films, the highest grossing film at the box office. A couple of months after that, Elvis would die. And then 2 months after that, Skinner's plane would crash. That was a hell of a year for country rock and roll, wasn't it? So hence the name 1977 banana pudding is one of my favorite years for fashion and rock and roll type of music. So I just put a little sour cream and stuff in mine to make it a little richer.
Yes, you did. You have an amazing story about meeting Naomi and Winona Judd.
Oh, heavens, yes. I was on the red carpet at the CMT Awards a couple of years ago, and they were being honored that night. The Judds were. And Winona's coming up, and she's like, hey, Hannah, we love you. Mom and I have been watching Stand By Your Pan forever. Can she come meet you? Like, can we get a picture together? And I was like, oh, my God, yes. And so as soon as I walk up to, the cameras are flashing, and Naomi, without missing a beat, says, bitch, you better snatch that wig off of your head. I'm supposed to have the tallest hair here.
Did you snatch that wig off?
No, I didn't. That was my arena size wig, but I have toned it down. God's really humbled me a lot in years since. But that was her last public performance. And of course, she passed away a couple of weeks after that. And it impacted me so. I was like, I've got to include Naomi in this book because she loved to cook. And it's a good old fashioned chocolate delight. She calls it possum pie. That title alone just intrigued me. I'm not cooking a possum. But when I read the recipe, I thought, oh, it's a chocolate delight. Sure. That's a classic that I grew up eating. Let's put that recipe in here. Naomi used Cool Whip. I like to make my own whipped cream, and I double the fun layer in between. That's that cream cheese layer that everybody loves.
Hannah's version of Naomi's possum pie has a pecan crust made with butter and shortening, a layer of sweetened cream cheese mixed with homemade whipped cream, a chocolate pudding layer made with an instant mix, and then the whole thing is topped with more whipped cream and sprinkled with chopped pecans. One look at the possum pie photograph in the book, and I wanted to close the blinds, lock my door, turn off my phone, and spend some time with the whole pan and a spoon on my couch. We have a lot in common as far as our dairy obsession because it's like so much cream cheese and so much sour cream. And I've always said, like, I would take a bath in a tub of sour cream if I could. Like,
you and my sister adds sour cream to her scrambled eggs when she's whisking it. She adds sour cream to everything.
Me too. I eat it plain. I actually can't buy it because if I don't have a purpose for it, I just stand at the counter and I eat it, which people think is disgusting. But I'm like, it's just like yogurt.
Love you. That makes me just love you. Because it's so good. Fresh onion on it. It's a minced fresh onion, like white or yellow onion, and put it on a hot dog. Sour cream and onion. It will rock your world.
New sour cream portal opened.
It's going to rock your world.
I'm going to do it. Coming up after the break, Hannah's last meal. What would your last meal be?
Oh, king crab legs. I keep moving my wig, sorry. Probably like a brontosaurus beef rib or any kind of beef rib, like prime rib on the bone. Prime rib roast would be delicious. And then my 8-layer chocolate cake.
Ooh, tell me about the cake.
It's one of those recipes. It's one of those things that you had to special order from a little old lady outside of town growing up. It was a special occasion cake. Like not everybody made it because it's a labor of love, but it's the most delicious, decadent. Imagine a really, really good, rich yellow cake with thin layers. And in between every single layer, you're not just getting like 2 layers of chocolate icing. You're getting 10 to 12 layers, yummy. And it's the old school cooked fudge chocolate icing. You can literally taste the sugar granules in your teeth. So good. I wanted to keep that one around and I want to learn how to make it. And not only that, I thought, you know what? Let's beat the box cake here. How do we get that great flavor? How do we get a really, really good yellow cake that's going to be moist and rich and decadent? I went into my little science kitchen and I have given you, in my opinion, one of the better yellow cakes I've ever eaten.
For her last meal, Hannah Dasher wants king crab legs, beef ribs, and the 8-layer yellow cake with old school fudge icing from her cookbook.
I could do it all over again, the cookbook shoot, that is. Nothing against the great chefs, but I would hire little old ladies to be the photography chefs for this because there's an art and a science to soul food cooking that they don't teach you in culinary school. And it comes from years and years of experience and just, I think, being opinionated and having the influence of the Gullah Geechee African descendants that are known for the bold flavors and the European influence, like the Austrians. I'm 7th or 8th generation Austrian. And so you're getting the best of both worlds. The Low Country, it's the Gully Geechee meets that European, Austrian influence. Yeah, there's just some secrets that some old folks might have told me before they went to their grave that I'm telling you and stand by your pan.
So you just put out a new EP in March that's called Scattered, Smothered, and Covered. And then the single is called Waffle House. For all of us West Coasters and the Yankees out there, can you first of all explain what Scattered, Smothered, and Covered is and the relationship that Southerners have with the Waffle House?
I love it. Well, so Waffle House is a retro diner. They're 24 hours. It's cheap, affordable, and it serves breakfast. So it's hard to mess up breakfast. So it's the best thing for the hangover or when you're stumbling in from the bar out of college. We all did that. Hash browns come with everything, and there are certain ways to order your hash browns, and a popular way to order them is scattered, smothered, and covered. Scattered makes them crunchy. They scatter it all over the burner and the butter so that they get a little crunchy. They smother it if you want onions, like buttered onions, you smother it there, and they cover it with cheese. But I wanted to release some cover songs along with a song of mine called Waffle House and call it Scattered, Smothered, and Covered.
What is the song Waffle House about?
It's that don't come home drinking with love it on your mind, that old Loretta Lynn kind of a nod. It's a man that comes home and he's drunk and he wants you to fix him something good and greasy to eat. And it's saying, no, I ain't your Waffle House. Don't come home drinking with love it on your mind, basically. So
I love that. At the end of the book, you wrote a little essay called Cooking is Therapeutic. Can you tell me what that means to you?
Well, I think you would agree, Sour Cream Queen, that there's something magical about fixing food in love and watching the people that you love eat it and enjoy it, right? And as big dreamers and creators, you're an author. It takes a long time for our projects to come to fruition. And cooking is like instant gratification. And so it is therapeutic in that way. When I cook, every time I open my fridge, I can recall a time where I was hungry and I had an empty fridge. And now when I open my freezer, it's full. Mm-hmm. And so it just makes me so grateful. I'm so grateful to cook, to have the means to prepare a meal and to have the friends to fix it for. So it's therapeutic.
Well, thank you so much, Hannah. This was so fun. It was so lovely to meet you. And congratulations on your book and your new EP.
Girl, thank you so much for taking the time. Rachel, you are absolutely, you're my sour cream queen. I appreciate you to pieces.
You're my sour cream queen. And that was Hannah Dasher's Last Meal. Pick up Hannah's cookbook, Stand by Your Pan. 100 easy and affordable comfort food recipes. So good, they'll hurt people's feelings. Her new EP is called Scattered, Smothered, and Covered, and she is on tour now. Go to hannahdasher.com or find a link in the show notes. Thanks to Tupperware's Doug Palenica. To celebrate the 80th anniversary, Tupperware has re-released those Cervelier bowls with the starburst pattern lids in the retro 1970s colors. But instead of avocado, burnt orange, harvest gold, and cocoa brown, they now call the colors basil, saffron, maple, and truffle. Doug very kindly sent me a set in the mail along with a very cute card. And every time I bring one to a potluck, people get very excited. They also sent over the new Tupperware cookbook, and the food styling and photography is fantastic. I will link to both the vintage bowls and the cookbook in the show notes. Thanks to NPR business correspondent Alina Soliuk.
Did you know that Tupperware traveled to space? And my other favorite factoid about the peak of popularity of Tupperware is that the Queen of England kept Cheerios in the Tupperware.
Pip, pip,
it was
Cheerios.
everywhere. It was in the Buckingham Palace and in space.
Your Last Meal is a product of Seattle's Cascade PBS. Go to cascadepbs.org to become a member, and for as little as $7 a month, you'll get on-demand access to all PBS programming. Season 3 of my food and drink storytelling show, The Nosh, is streaming now. It is beautifully shot by PBS documentary filmmakers, and the last episode of the season drops today. It's called Getting Saucy, and it is for everyone with a fridge door packed with condiments. You can check out all 8 episodes and the past 2 seasons anytime at cascadepbs.org, on the Cascade PBS app, or search The Nosh with Rachel Belle on YouTube. This episode was produced by me and senior producer Sarah Bernard, who also mixed and mastered it. Original theme music by Prom Queen. I'm Rachel Belle, and this is your last meal.
Wearing your vintage today.
You know, they say women dress for other women, and I was like, I'm dressing for her. But I don't have the cool pants on like you. I'm wearing my pajama pants. I'm doing like the COVID kind of mullet outfit.
You're a doll.